What's up, everyone? Eli here, back for a Louis knows, back for a CD collection video. For some of my newer viewers, I know I have a few, probably not a lot, but if you're not familiar with what I kind of do in this situation, is I just grab 10 CDs off my shelf, alphabetized, and I just show them, talk a little bit about them if I can. If not, I breeze through it. But anyways, 10 CDs at a time is the way I seem to do it. And yeah, right now we're listening to I don't know how to pronounce it necessarily, Mons Veneris from Portugal with the last Twilight of Existence EP. I'm listening to it digitally right now, so I can't show you. I do have the tape, but they are kind of one of the more coveted bands in the current Portuguese black metal scene. Maybe not as widely known as like Black Silice and shit like that, but still, they're one of those bands that when you see stuff from them for sale, it's gone pretty quick. So I have a handful of cassettes. I got one to send out this week, and I got a couple more. If anyone wants one, they'll be gone soon, like they always are. So yeah, just wanted to throw that out there. But we'll get on to the music here. 10 CDs, starting picking up where we left off with the last video. I was talking about Electric Wizard. So I have two more Electric Wizard CDs to show, starting with their most current full length from 2017, Wizard Bloody Wizard. Cool album cover, like pretty much like always you'd expect from these guys. This came out on Witchfinder Records and Spine Farm. This album was a huge grower. I still am not a massive fan of it. I don't love it, but I don't hate it the way that I did when it first came out, when I first got it. This was a very stripped down Electric Wizard. They'd pretty much gotten rid of the, kind of psychedelic elements you kind of grew to like from them. And this is more just stripped down, old sounding doom, 70s fuzz rock. There's some Blue Cheer in there. It's like old Black Sabbath, old Blue Cheer. That's more what you're getting here. You're not getting those drawn out, drugged out, psychedelic elements, which I gotta say I definitely wish I missed those. That was part of their sound that appealed to me, and taking that away, I hated this album at first. Like I said, it did grow on me. It's not one of my favorites from them though. It grew on me, and now it's kind of passable, but it's not. I don't think it's a great album. Next we have, I believe this is the newest thing they have released, and this is a cool thing because I had heard some of this shit years back, but I don't know if, most of it I don't think ever had an official release. So what we have here is a compilation. We got pre-Electric Wizard, 1989 to 94. So that might surprise you that this band goes back to fucking 1989. It surprised me too. They weren't called Electric Wizard back then. They started off as a band, at least if this is in chronological order. I believe it is. They started off called as a band called Eternal, and they mostly played, kind of old style fuzz rock doom, kind of what you heard on this album, but a lot more primitive sounding. Then they would go on to call themselves Thy Grief Eternal, and then eventually Lord of Putrefaction. And so at one point, I can't remember if it was I can't remember which band, which incarnation of the band, but they were playing actually like they were basically playing death metal at one point. Shit, it might be Eternal. I can't remember. This is what the back looks like. These are the three bands that they evolved from. And I don't remember the order, but at one point they were playing straight up doom death metal. But very much death metal, which is crazy. If you didn't know that about this band, you would never assume. I didn't know for the longest time, but I don't know, maybe 5-10 years ago I found that out. So this came out on Rise Above Records, the very cool label run by Lee Dorian of Cathedral and Napalm Death. Worth getting. It's good stuff, man. Next we have, this was part of VCLT sent to me by Marty Worm. maybe 2 years back, something like that. And I had heard this one before. This band was featured on Fenriz's old blog, or maybe he still does it, but his Band of the Week blog, which is really cool, by the way. I don't know if he still does it, but that's where I discovered this band. So Fenriz liked him. I figured, I better give him a shot too. Eliminator, We Rule the Night. As you might guess, you're probably going to be right. This is just straight up new world of, British heavy, new world. I always say new world. New wave of British heavy metal kind of worship. You can tell by looking at the band as well, what they were going for. I mean, yeah. Very cool looking CD itself. I haven't spent a lot of time with this, so I can't comment on it too much. I don't love it. I think it's pretty good. Bands like this, man, newer bands, this came out on the Forge, by the way. Newer bands playing this kind of stuff almost never do it for me. So I'm not a good judge for this kind of stuff. Like, I love classic heavy metal, traditional heavy metal, 70s and 80s. All that original stuff, but like younger, newer bands doing it for some reason, and I really don't mean to be that guy, but a lot of it just doesn't work for me. I know it works for other people. I know Scott Waters likes a lot of those bands, and that's awesome. He's older than I am. It's cool that a guy in his 40s can dig those younger bands, because we need to give them a chance. But a lot of them just don't do it for me. I can't help it, and I'm not going to pretend to like them when I kind of don't. So next we got a couple things from Cleveland's classic Cleveland band, Embalmer. Everyone knows them by now. Everyone loves them. This is the There Was Blood Everywhere compilation. Came out this version came out in 2003 on Relapse Records, by the way. I bought it, I don't know, somewhere around that time. A lot of you have heard Embalmer. Like I said, they've become very well known as of late. Just very, very early sounding death metal. Disgusting, raw, brutal. Almost gore grindy death metal, but I wouldn't really... I wouldn't say the grind elements are super prevalent in their music, but good stuff. I've always liked Embalmer since the first time I heard them. And then I have this Cannibalistic Future 2013 promo. This was just a CDR that the band made. I don't know how many they made up, but just a homemade CDR with a home printed cover art. It's just one song promo. I believe this was on their most recent full length, something like that. It's a good song. It sounds like Embalmer. Sounds like 90s Embalmer, which is probably what they were going for and what they should have been going for. Two more bands to talk about in this last handful of albums. I got 3 albums from Emerson, Lake and Palmer here. I have even more of their stuff on vinyl. I was going through my when I was picking these off the shelf, I was like, man, I thought I had way more ELP than this, but then I remembered I have a lot of their stuff on vinyl. So in no particular order, I don't think. I don't remember. These might not be chronological, but who cares? So we'll start off with Pictures at an Exhibition. Oddly enough, I showed that Isao Tomita record from the other day, covering, he was basically covering this same source material, which is classical music composed by Mussorgsky. I don't know how to pronounce his name, Mussorgsky. I sound like an idiot, but yeah. So what Isao Tomita, put his electronic, ambient type music, to bring out the material. This is Emerson, Lake and Palmer bringing out this classical music, as a prog rock band, and they do it really well. They didn't, they only did it live for this album. They didn't do it for a studio recording or anything. They did it for this live show from what year was it from? I don't know. '72, I think, and it is awesome. This is an awesome album. I wish they'd recorded it in the studio, but these live performances sound great. I gotta say, out of all the performances on this album, Carl Palmer's drumming is by far my favorite. Just inventive drumming, explosive, propelling. Just his drumming he's just on fire on this album or live show or whatever you want to call it. It's fucking awesome. Then I also have probably their best known album in their discography. I have Brain Salad Surgery with that classic H.R. Geiger cover art. Very cool. Whenever he does anything, I mean, it's a special thing, right? This came out in 1973. I like Emerson, Lake and Palmer a lot, but they're not my favorite prog band. It always kind of threw me off, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, but their music's always a mixture of real complex prog, but then on that same album they always throw in a bunch of upbeat, simple, radio rock, classic rock stuff, and that always throws me off. It's like, I don't want to hear that shit. I don't want to hear them playing, hit radio singles. I want to hear them doing what they do best, which is, making complex, progressive music. That's when they're at their best. I don't like the radio hit shit. That doesn't do anything for me. And most of their albums they do that, and it's kind of for me that makes them a band that I really like and not one of my favorite bands. So I also have from 1972 their Trilogy album. It's just called Trilogy. It's not a trilogy of albums or anything like that, but yeah, good album. Man, all their 70s albums are good. They're all, if not great. This is I don't know. This isn't one of my top favorites. I'd reserve that for a few others, but this is it's very good. It probably is a favorite for a lot of longtime ELP fans. Just not quite there for me. And the last band I'll be talking about is Emperor. We all know Emperor from Norway. A seminal early black metal band out of that Norwegian scene that is so infamous. This is the Wrath of the Tyrant. Well, this is a compilation, actually. It's got Wrath of the Tyrant and their self-titled EP, Emperor. So it's cool to have both on one disc. Their debut demo and that obviously the Wrath of the Tyrant stuff is it's all classic black metal. However, if you listen to Emperor on a timeline, they would change and kind of clean up their sound with every release. So I mean, even going from the Wrath of the Tyrant stuff to the Emperor stuff, there's a noticeable change. But I mean, when they did that demo, I mean, they were like fucking 14 years old. You can't really expect people to grow, turn into adults basically, and still make the same music they made when they were 14. I mean, that's an odd expectation to put on people. But at the same time, I'm definitely into their earlier stuff way more than their later stuff as well. So I know a lot of people are on that boat, and I'm on there too. But I'm not one of those people that like, oh, it ends with, I don't like anything beyond Wrath of the Tyrant. I've heard people say that, and I can't get down with that shit. So yeah, naturally after that, I'm going to show their debut full length in the Nightside Eclipse. This is a repress from 2004. I probably bought it around that time. Got a cardboard slipcase. Remember that one video where I was like struggling to... I couldn't, I struggle with a lot of shit, but I couldn't remember what these things were called. I was just like reaching for the term and I couldn't do it. So yeah. Classic debut album. When did it come out? 92? I'm gonna say maybe 92. I'm terrible with years and years that, releases came out. Chronological order, I'm just terrible with that. This version right here comes with 2 bonus tracks, and they're actually good bonus tracks. They're cover songs. A Fine Day to Die by Bathory and Gypsy by Merciful Fate. So they're they're covers that very much represent the band and their sound and show their influences as well. So they're great covers. Bonus tracks for me are usually just kind of like forgetful shit. Like I'll listen to them once and then I never really want to hear them again. But these are actually worthy bonus tracks, worthy of listening to multiple times and not skipping when you listen to the CD. So that's all I got. My next video will probably be a new stuff video, and then after that I'll probably get back to the CD collection videos, or at least one of them. I got more Emperor stuff, so we'll pick up where we left off here. So anyways, I am out. I got stuff to do. Yeah, talk to me about these things and whatever else you want. Thanks for stopping by. Talk soon. Cheers.